Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Last time we spoke about having a shift in your mindset. Yes, pro tip, invest in self-development. Read wide, read about people, biographies, autobiographies, documentaries. See how people grow from nothing to becoming wealthy. And this would ultimately help you to come out of the societal norms and blocks that they have built. Today, we'll be taking the conversation forward and we'll be looking at your relationship with money. You're excited, right? Yes, there is a relationship you can have with money. And this relationship ultimately determines if money would be your friend or not. You know, the same way you can fall in love with a person. Yes, those preconditions for loving a person is the same preconditions for having money. Money is the root of all evil, don't forget. Yeah, but no, we're changing that. The relationship you're supposed to have with money actually stems from a place of value. I'd mentioned adding value to yourself the last time, but today we are going to look at money from the perspective of how do you get money in the real sense? How do you get to build? How do you get that thing that people are willing to pay for? What are the preconditions for falling in love with a person? For you to know that there's actually a way you can build relationship with money is that citation that starts with the love of money. Do you get? So the fact that there could even be a reference to the love of money means that there can actually be a relationship with money. But truth is, many of us have been desensitized from the idea of building wealth because we have seen that there's no legit money anywhere. Nollywood didn't even help us. I remember then when I used to watch all those Nollywood films then, where people that were wealthy they had to carry calabash. You can you can relate, right? They carried calabash, and you're like structures that have been put in place. Nobody actually teaches you about money. Maybe only in recent times where people are now like, oh, what's happening? People don't really even know much about wealth. Governments, the colonial masters didn't even structure, they structured it so that you can remain subservient. Do you get? So the entire landscape does not want you to be wealthy because, of course, the rich should actually become richer while the poor becomes what? Poorer. Where do you want to belong? Me, I want to belong here. Anyways, I am here to help you resuscitate the ability to dream big and build wealth. Do you know that many people actually look out for ROIs? You've heard it before, Abby. But there is a difference between ROI and ROI. We'll talk about that. Let me leave it like that so that you'll be here for the next one. Return on investments are perceived as one very big thing because you've heard that, oh, if you don't have a big money, you cannot earn big. And in fact, sometimes when you calculate the ROI on your own money, that your 150K, you remember, it looks like, what's the point? Let me just spend it. And I hear it, I've seen memes where they say, please, my money, I want to just spend it all. I have only one life to live. Yes, all of us is only one that we're given. But that does not mean you should not at least build something, build a monument in this time. Your ideal relationship with money should be from a perspective of value, right? And what is value? Value in literal terms is how much something is wanted and how much people are willing to pay for it. Value can be perceived. In fact, value is perception based, meaning that what I see, the same way they tell you beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. Eh, that's the same way value is. Value is the perception of the person. And I can see a particular service and say, oh, this is really valuable. And I love the service. Oh, I'm willing to pay X amount for the service. And I'm so blown away. And someone else looks at what is being done and is like, where I'm coming from. In fact, there's always Jara on top. Because the person has actually seen something more valuable. The person is unable to attribute so much value to what you're bringing to the table, right? Imagine that you have a colleague that always just goes over and beyond to get the work done, to solve problems. There's nothing you bring to the person's table that does not have an answer. But you, when they come to you, you just start complaining. That's the first thing. This thing now, you people have brought it again. How are we supposed to do it? Everything is you complaining. What do you think people would go to more? Definitely the person that is able to solve their problems. And that, in literal terms, is value. Your ability to see problems and solve it. Post solving it, you're able to attract wealth. You're able to attract money. So if you're unable to solve problem, even if you're unable to identify it, there's a problem. So today, that is what I'll be teaching you on. How to become a person of value. We've talked about that the last time. And how to give value. Do you know that people who solve problems are actually found to be very likable? People are just naturally amenable to them. Do you know why? Because this world is filled with complexities and people are seeking for answers. If you can answer them, they pay for you. Do you look at the world as being unfair? Is that your perception? Do you look at it as, oh, government has not provided these amenities? Oh, my uncle didn't help me. Oh, my father didn't provide for me. US president has removed AIDS from African country. Are you on that table? If you're on that table, climb down. Because people don't survive on AIDS. The more people fund you and help you, the less likely you are to succeed. Do you remember that adage that says, I'm not sure if it's an adage or something, but it's a saying that don't give a person fish, teach the person how to fish. But guess what? People don't even want to teach you how to fish because why should they? They rather just give you fish and keep you subservient. So if you really want to break out and become a successful person, a successful professional, a successful business person, you need to be able to sense things from a problem perspective and don't explain it away. I could recall when I was in 400 level, right? Was it 300 or 400? Somewhere in between. There was a long ASU strike, very prolonged. And in between, I got to work a job and I was paid salary. When it was time to go back to school, we got to the car park. And I was like, Daddy, money? My daddy looked at me like, where's the money you earned? And I'm like, my money is my money. Your money is our money. You know that adage or that saying. And he was like, no, this would be the last time I will give you money. You people have earned money. And I'm like, wicked, right? You get it. That was it. Because guess what? My money that I earned that is supposed to be my money, guess what I used it for? I bought a brand new guitar. And I replaced my phone. Baby girl life, right? And guess what? That was like the last time daddy officially gave us money because at that point I was like, okay, I can also work because I've worked and I've seen how it is, right? So if you're still thinking that there should be an uncle or your father or your mother or somebody that is indebted to you that is supposed to be funding you, and you're not carrying yourself in such a way that, oh, what's the problem here? How can I solve it? How can I help you? In fact, do you know that people have made money from volunteering on a job? I have a friend, his current job that he does now is actually from volunteering on a person's job. And over the years, they just saw that, Omo, we're not paying this guy and he's giving so much. And they asked him, "Oh, can we pay you? Would you be willing to work for us full time?" And he said yes. And guess what? Even before he started, they paid him bonus for do you get? They backdated his money and paid him a bonus. That is to tell you that if you're willing to actually give value, value returns to you. So, how do you perceive these things? It's very, very important. So, what's the lesson? The lesson is that waiting for people to always help you does not jolt your brain to find ways to make money. Let's quickly talk about 3 ways by which you can create value. I call it the value chain and I named it IPO, not initial public offer. I stands for identification. Your ability to identify a problem is the first step to solving it. You need to understand value creation. When you look at an organization, when you look at a person, when you look at even your family system, what are the unmet needs? What are those things that is their pain point that they're always hammering on? We have liquidity issues. Oh, we are not able to meet our demands as they fall due. Oh, we are unable to pay our vendors. And you look at it, liquidity issues. What is liquidity issues? You don't even understand what they just said. But guess what? Google is your friend. Pa, 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 pa. What is liquidity? How can I solve liquidity problems? Oh, we need to reduce this, increase this, manage cash flow. And you walk up to your finance person, your finance manager, your CFO or somebody, and you say, you were talking about liquidity issues. What if just engage? You don't even have to have all the answers. Your CFO by himself, by the time you start talking, ideas, because he has a broader view of the company or of the situation, ideas will just automatically jump into his mind, even though he was the one that perceives or the one that received the answer. Who jolted it? You. When it is time for appraisal committee meeting and that your CFO is in that committee, who do you think would be recommended for promotion? You, of course, because you are not in that unit, you are not in finance. You just edit that, oh, this is the challenge we are currently facing. It's an unmet need. And you took it upon yourself to do the research and engage. And that way, you have just earned yourself a seat in the mind of your CFO. And I can give several other illustrations like that of how you can actually identify problems. Just open your mind. Try to get what people are talking about as regards their need. Me starting this podcast, for instance, was me trying to answer people's questions about finance and investments. But I cannot just go into telling you about savings, budgeting, and financial management, cash flow, without creating a background, right? I can see a problem, but I need to move gradually and shift you into being financially literate. I saw a gap and I decided to start teaching it. So basically, it's about seeing a gap and researching how that gap can be filled. Not necessarily because you have all the answers, but because you can do something about it. The next one is positioning. You need to be able to actually position yourself to be able to create value. What do I mean? The talents that you have, how have you been able to use it to solve real life problems? Let me give you an illustration. The Bible character I love so much is Joseph. Guess what? He understood the power of positioning. He had talent, yes, he could interpret dreams. He had that skill, he has used it, and he was able to interpret the dream even when the situation was not palatable. He was in the prison, yes, prison. And he used his talent. He wasn't carrying face and saying, "Okay, but we are here together." He was able to use his talent to help people. And from there, you know what it is. He became the prime minister of Egypt at the time. You have 1001 talents that you have not used. How about you start using them? You know what that does? The more you use your talents, the more expertise you develop over time. Because that's usage. When you subject it to usage, you're able to earn it, you're able to advance it, you're able to make more research that actually helps you to advance that skill. If you don't use your skill, it dies. It will be like that guy that was given the talent and went to bury it. We're not supposed to bury our talent. We're supposed to use it. And the more you use it, the better you become at it. You become an expert and you attract money. It's a value chain. You need to be able to work your skills to a point where people are able to recommend you and pay for your service. Positioning is very key in this life and in any industry you find yourself. Some people would keep being poor just because they see themselves in that level, while others would strive to become better. You're a young professional. I see no reason why you shouldn't strive to advance yourself, research, read. You see, I keep going back to it because it is very important. Very, very important. You remember the guy I told you about earlier that volunteered to get a job? It is, in fact, a perfect example of positioning. He saw the company, he liked the company, he offered to work for them, and ultimately, he got a job there. If he didn't go through that process, do you think the company will come and look for him in his house? In fact, nobody knows your father's address. So if you remain in your father's house, yes, you are going to remain there. And you know what my rich dad calls the rat race? You just continue that cycle like that. Please position yourself rightly. Don't forget, the repeated use of your skills and talents makes you an expert, and that is what positions you to become better and even get what you're looking for. And in this case, wealth, money, and every other thing that is related to it. The third thing is O. It means outstanding. Be outstanding in everything you do. Just strive to stand out. Let people come around you and just see a difference. You go over and beyond. You like to just see things differently from others and create an atmosphere where people can rely on you. Can I give you a task and go to sleep? Can your boss give you a task and just look away? Or do you need to be micromanaged? Have you done A? Okay, now you finished A. Have you now done B? You know? Slow and steady. Like tortoise. Anyway, it's fine. But I know you say slow and steady wins the race. I'm not saying don't go slow and don't be steady. But what I'm saying is let us be able to rely on your work. And how do you do that? If you need to collaborate with others, collaborate. If you need to get something done and you don't absolutely have the skills, get other people around you that can help. Stay updated in your field. Don't rely on outdated knowledge because outdated knowledge would you see that bat just pass you off because there's nobody can actually relate with you anymore. AI is taking over. Know what AI is doing in your industry. Be up to date. Know what information. Don't just sit on social media binging things that don't add value. Binge information that is relevant and relatable and usable, that when you speak, people would know that yes, this guy is here, and they cannot just say who is talking, who is talking. Bring yourself to a point where you're able to solve problems and create value. Guess what? You'll get paid, you'll make money, and even much more. Because, like I said earlier, money is the least currency that you can earn. But because you are a person of value, you gain much more than money. And that is what real wealth is. You know, I mentioned something about ROI versus ROI. We'll talk about it and you'll see the difference. Your ability to make money is dependent on your ability to add value. So strive as much as possible to add value. Remember, identify unmet needs, position yourself to solve it, and be outstanding in everything you do. Ultimately, you would meet your goal, you will build wealth, and that wealth would give impact. Till we meet again next time, stay tuned to my channel. Like, share, subscribe, drop your comments in the comment section, and I'd love to read your questions and answer them. Thank you for joining me today.